I'm guessing that by now, you've probably all put it together that I'm the type of person who cuts their own hair. It's true. I've been cutting my own hair for almost 20 years. It's kind of become like a badge of honor. I found a little loophole in the barbershop industrial complex. But the problematic thing about cutting your own hair is that you have to book an appointment with yourself. And if you've ever tried to do that before, you know that we can be fairly elusive creatures. So that didn't really work. And yet my hair's not very long, so somehow the job's getting done. And I wondered, why do I cut my hair? What's the trigger that brings me to give myself a haircut? So I watched myself. I observed my patterns in my behavior. And I noticed that I would cut my hair whenever I had a really hot date. I'm just kidding. Whenever there was a really hot day, that first scorching day of the late spring, I would shave all my hair off. And I came to understand that my hair, it just performs this function for me. It helps me regulate my body temperature. When it's cold out, I grow it a little bit longer and get some free insulation. And when it's hot out, I shave it off to cool down. I'll be honest with you, the form of my hair, it's kind of taken a back seat these past 2 decades. The modernist architects of the 20th century were pioneering new ways of thinking about buildings. They were exploring new engineering methods and new materials. They were designing spaces specifically for human health and human comfort. They were doing things differently. One of these architects, Louis Sullivan, he left us with the now famous mantra that form follows function. That the form of something, the way that it appears, the way it looks, is secondary to the operation that it performs, the need that it serves. But there's another thing I should tell you about cutting your own hair in case you're thinking about getting into it. It makes a huge mess, particularly this kind of hair. It just flings everywhere. It's very hard to capture. And so my family has a rule in our household. This is real. I'm not allowed to cut my hair indoors. It's fine, we're over it. I cut it outside with our dog. She's got to cut hers too. But I noticed that there's something else I need to consider when I'm achieving this simple functionality from my hair. I got to think about the other people that I'm affecting. So there was something before function, something important. And I love this alliteration that stood the test of time. So I was thinking, the word footprint. Function follows footprint. We got to consider the footprint first, the impact that we have. I liked where this was going, but footprints become kind of a squishy word. I mean, I have no problems with my footprints. I actually find them quite adorable. I was looking for a more bombastic word, a meaner piece of language to get this idea across, because I think it's an important one. And so I brainstormed all the really bad, mean, tough F words that I know. I thought of all of them, and I came to this one, fallout. Not the radioactive aftermath type of fallout, but the other definition, negative or adverse impacts. And so form follows function, and function follows fallout. So why does this matter? Why is this important? Well, fallout is the repercussions of our actions, of our behavior. And there's a lot of fallout in the world, unfortunately. I frame it around our 2 primary problems. The problem we have with how we treat our planet and the problem we have with how we treat one another. And those 2 problems are very connected, because when we treat each other with kindness and respect and understanding, we're going to get a lot further, a lot faster in coming up with the solutions that we desperately need. The Haudenosaunee people are known for the insightful philosophy that in our every deliberation, we must consider the impacts of our actions on the next 7 generations. I've always found those words to be eloquent, beautiful, truthful words to live by. And yet, I don't know about you, but I can't picture 7 generations into the future. I can't even picture how this generation's going to play out. I can't picture 7 generations, but I can picture 7 continents today and tomorrow, with plants and animals and humans and ecosystems potentially suffering from our knowing and unknowing, our willing and our unwilling collective behavior, our collective fallout. The Haudenosaunee living 1,000 years ago, they lived in a simpler world. Change happened gradually. It makes sense that they could picture 7 generations into the future because things had more or less always been the same. They could imagine their great-great-great-great-grandchildren inhabiting the same lands that they did. They didn't know about people on the other side of the globe. And even if they did, their actions wouldn't impact those other folks. They had a deep visibility into the future on a narrow portion of the earth. But today we live in vastly more complexity, and change happens at a breathtaking speed. I mean, we know about everyone everywhere, and we're all connected through trade and information, through entertainment and blending cultures. We have a shallow visibility into the future. We don't know what's going to happen. But we have a wide-angle lens on the entire planet. We are acutely aware of suffering around the world. Empathy on this global scale is a relatively new concept. And yet there's some deep responsibility with this knowledge. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever made a sandwich before? That's great. So if you ever made a sandwich before, you actually built a sandwich. And if you ever built a sandwich, check it out, you actually designed a sandwich. You had to think about all these different factors, the ingredients, the taste in your mouth, the texture of that sandwich, the structure of that thing so it didn't fall apart in your hands. You had to make all these little decisions to design that awesome sandwich because you're a designer. Because we're all designers. To be a human being is to be a designer. Here's my definition of design. Thoughtful planning through a process of trial and error toward a desired outcome. Sounds like what we do all day. We design our family structures, our celebrations, our careers, how our day is going to go. And we could do all that more intentionally, more thoughtfully, reflecting on the form and the function and the fallout of our decisions. But the fallout can be hard to calculate, if not impossible. It can be hard to comprehend. I had an opportunity this past year to design and build a small home for my family. It was the perfect opportunity to apply the form, function, fallout methodology. In this project, I saw design in a new way, probably because it was such a personal experience. But I came to see it simply as a sequence of decisions, each one accumulating on the last, and each one with a set of ramifications to be considered. Flooring and roofing and siding and concrete, windows, insulation, energy systems, all of these decisions with potential fallout. And I wanted to make the best decision. So I read the latest building science journals and articles. I talked to other professionals. But the advice was often contradictory. Turns out there's no categorical imperative regarding how to build a healthy, happy, fallout-free home on a modest budget. So I came up with some questions I'd ask myself. I thought about the spirit of those modernist architects. I thought about the vision of the Haudenosaunee. And the most potent question that I came to was this one. With this design solution, am I being sentimental or am I being adaptive? Am I clinging to some notion from the past, some idea or product or process that is now known to be harmful or wasteful or irrelevant? But that's just how we've always done it. Or am I being adaptive? Am I considering how the world is changing, our cultures, our technology, our climate? And am I responding to those changes? Here's a super basic example of sentimentality of the past 100 years. You ever wonder why we keep putting those shutters on either side of our windows, especially here in New England? I mean, these things don't have hinges, right? Even if they did, they wouldn't cover the whole window. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Stuff could still get in. I think the pilgrims were just like, you always got to have shutters. We're like, all right. An adaptive mindset would be, forget the shutters. I want to set my living situation up to be resilient and self-sufficient through power outages and droughts and extreme weather. Here's another example on a societal, cultural level of sentimentalism the past 50 years. It's like, me, I'm the user. My experience is what matters. I'm the consumer. And an adaptive response would be like, no, man, we are the users. Our survival is what matters. We are all inextricably linked at this point. There is no going back. What you do affects me. What I do affects you. We are in this together. The form, function, fallouts mantra clearly has connotation in architectural settings. But design isn't just for the architects and the engineers and the developers and scientists. It's for all of us. And this mantra has a radical and meaningful application in our own lives. Let me explain. Let's take the concept of form. When we cut our attachments, when we cut our ties to the way that things are supposed to look and supposed to appear, when we cut our attachment to superficiality in favor of authenticity, there is a powerful freedom waiting for us. The concept of function. When we cut to the core, to the functions in this life that we actually need, not what we want or could obtain, but the things we actually need: food and water and shelter and heat and energy and connection and community and love. When we cut to that core, there is a prolific future waiting for us. And the concept of fallout. When we cut the blindfold that keeps us from seeing the repercussions of our actions, keeps us from seeing those downstream picking up the mess that we leave behind or living in it. When we cut that blindfold, there is a profound fairness waiting for us. I know we're probably not all going to start cutting our own hair, and if you do, you're going to want to get a mirror. But we are all sandwich makers. We are all designers. We aren't governments, but we can show up with how we cast our votes. We aren't corporations, but we can show up with how we spend our dollars. We aren't perfect, and this isn't going to be easy. But we aren't powerless. We can show up with our own design solutions to the decisions that we make every day. Thank you.